Here's an interesting one. An interesting writing prompt. Have you ever felt like you were meant for something? That some event or moment in your life was fated? Have you ever felt an inexplicable call to something? Where do you think this feeling comes from? Write about it. I don't know where it comes from. Well, okay, maybe I do. Because I'm obsessed with this whole idea of niche appreciation. I was just saying this in the last segment that, you know, I want to make something that is extremely me. I want to be able to fill a very specific hole in the world, you know? I want to find, like, that Junji Ito manga. Like, this is my hole. Like, that's what I want. I want to find my hole. And in many ways I have. In many different ways. And I don't know if I felt an inexplicable call to, like, anime analysis or My Little Pony analysis when I was doing that. There was a little bit of that. There was a little bit of like, hey, there's a hole here that I could fill. But like, both of those were things that once it got underway, I kind of felt like I could leave. Like, when Pony analysis took off, I just kind of dipped out. And now anime analysis is taking off. And like, I'm still going to do it because there's so many things that only I can really discover. Because anime is so broad and most people are doing such surface level shit that, like, I will always have way more to say about anime than anyone else on YouTube does. But, you know, I guess I feel some inexplicable calls to action anytime I feel that there's something only I can do. You know, like, if I suddenly get an idea where I'm like, nobody else could ever pull this off except for me, then I'm going to go do that. But, like, you know, those are rare feelings, and I don't know if they're that strong of like a fucking physical urge to do something. But I do feel that fate level connection with May, because the way that we are similar is almost inexplicable. Like, she and I are way too similarly minded. We think the same way. We have all the same tastes. We grew up in, like, startlingly similar environments. Like, it's just, like, way too close. And everything we do together is perfect. Like, we have way too much fun together. And, in many ways, I think, like, on some level, because of the fact that I've never had anybody understand me that well before, like, my whole career is couched in the fact that people don't get me. You know, I made that video, the emotional core of my videos, one time, about how, like, deep at the heart of my videos is me being mad about the fact that other people don't understand the things I like, or don't understand me. And so much of my life has been dedicated to, like, trying to explain myself and trying to, like, prove the worth of the things I do and like. And May is the first person I've ever met who just, like, gets me on everything. Like, I never feel like she does not understand what I'm telling her. Very rarely. Very rarely is there, like, a gap in between what the two of us are thinking. And it's usually, I think I talked about this on an episode of Digi and May too, like, that there's, like, only a few meaningful differences between us, and the biggest one is that she's a girl and I'm a guy. And it's a pretty big difference. There's lots of things that one of us thinks about and not the other because of that. But, like, it's like a drop in the bucket compared to the number of things that we completely understand each other on, to the point that we can read each other's thoughts sometimes. I will look at her and say, were you just thinking this? And she'll be like, how the fuck did you know that? And then she'll do the same thing to me. It's incredible. So, you know, I feel this deep level connection, and because of the fact that I went 26 years of my life before finding that, it feels insane. Like, it's like, how can this be possible? How could it be that all these years, nobody was even close, and you are on the mark? It's like if you're playing darts, and the closest you've ever gotten a dart to the bullseye is, like, the middle ring, and then someone just nails a straight bullseye. That's how it feels. Nobody else has come close to understanding me as well as May does. Not even slightly. It's so affirming. So life affirming. But as weird and crazy as that seems, it also makes perfect sense. Because if you have two people who are so similar to one another, they are inevitably going to end up in the same place. Especially if they are an incredibly specific type of person who wouldn't fit in anywhere else. And we both are that. Neither of us has ever felt a sense of belonging until each other. Because, like, let's say that you are in a country where everyone is blue and you are red. And even though the blue people allow you to be there and are relatively accepting of you, nobody will ever truly understand what it means to be red because none of them are red. And then if there's another red person in that country, like let's say there's 2 red people total, you are on a crash course with each other because you're going to be constantly seeking out things that red people are into. Like let's say all blue people love Digimon and red people love Pokemon. Like, you are going to seek out a place where Pokemon fans are so that you can find other red people, potentially, you know? So, like, with May and I, we think so similarly that of course we were both going to end up in the same community. Like, she had to have found out about me. Like, you know, just as an anime fan with an interest in analysis, with an interest in, like, internet personalities, and the particular taste she has in internet personalities, she was definitely going to find me. And when she found me, she went, holy shit, this guy is of the same mind as me. And so, like, it got to a point for, like, she was following me for over a year, and it got to a point where she realized that the similarity in how we thought was so strong, and she was so sure that she could make me happy by us being together, that she could not say something. Like, think about how powerful that is. To know for a fact that this person has hundreds of thousands of followers, and that some of them think that they should be his best friend, but you are so thoroughly convinced, like, it is on such a deeper level than even those people that you feel this emotion, that, like, it's scarier to think of going your whole life without saying anything than it is to think of the rejection that you could face. That is how I would describe, like, what May did, you know? So she got into contact with me, like, willing to accept any level of response. Like, anything I was going to give back, she was okay with. And we end up getting, like, married. You know, like, that's where we are at now. Like, it sounds insane, but it also makes the most sense in the world. Like, how could we not have found each other when there's no one else like us? The only way we could have not is if there was a few more. You know, like, if there was another person who thought like me and May between Virginia Beach and Rochester, New York, like, in the space between those two cities, if somebody was there, we might not have found each other. One of us would have found that person, you know? But there is none. There's only 2 of these on the East Coast. And if you're not on the East Coast, you can't even be one. Because if you live on the West Coast, you think different. If you live in the Midwest, you definitely think different. If you live in another country, you for sure think different. You know, East Coast is all pretty similar. City of Greece and the city of Virginia Beach are very fucking similar. They're not very different, having lived in both. So, you know, this had to happen. There was no other way it could have happened. And, yeah. It's a crash course.